My topic today is on mobile privacy and surveillance. Privacy is leaked whenever we leave digital footprint online, passively or actively. Some footprint may be collected without owner knowing, while others are created when owners deliberately release the data. Either way, information can be held by an unknown party for other purposes. After releasing our information, we welcome strangers to look into our lives. The more we depend on the mobile devices, the more likely it will be targeted for surveillances. Agencies or normal individuals can watch over activities and social circle we belong and become familiar with our lives. Whenever we use the internet, information transmitted online, like sending emails and attachment, form registration, uploading image or video, all leave traces of personal information about yourself to others online. After releasing these information, we no longer have control of who can look at it or download and own it. Here is a graph of how much digital information is created each year globally. The more information we put online, we make ourselves more transparent. Mobile phone companies record our information like users' location, pictures, and contact, and then sell to other companies. Data mining companies use our information for marketing purposes, then sell to others who are eager to monetize our data, then use these data and sell products back at us. Here is a example of how stores can track us. This tracking program is installed by Nordstrom by using Wi-Fi receptors on customers' smartphone like the iPhone. By having this movement tracking program, Nordstrom can then predict which product is popular and gain a sense of what attracts the customer and use these information to design the floor plan and marketing purposes. The greater the amount of personal data that become available, more informative the data gets. Here is a breakdown of how Canadians use phones and what their behaviors are. The website shows the average smartphone users where they spend their time the most and what they do with their cell phones. Here also shows the apps that average Canadians have on their smartphone and what are the top apps that Canadians use. With the increase of dependency on media technology surrounding us, we start to give up our information willingly. We depend on online banking, so we have to give up our account pins and account number. We depend on Facebook and Instagram to socialize, so we give up our photos and show who we're connected with online. By opening the door to our lives voluntarily, it makes it hard to leave no digital trail. While some sites may tell users what the sites will do with the data if we release it, many users do not take the time to read it. Lengthy disclaimers make it really hard to picture what it is actually going on. So much information and so important, but where so little attention is paid. Most of the time, users only want to get to the product and just click I agree. But this consent is not really consent. Here is a video by Ryan Yokomi talking about how users can track without our awareness. When they use iPhone iOS 7 frequent location default setting, we get tracked wherever we go.
Hey guys, what's happening? This is Ryan. I've got a quick tip for you today. If you're an iPhone user and you've upgraded to iOS 7, this is crazy. This phone tracks everywhere you go. You heard me right. So I'm going to show you how to change that setting if you don't want that, because by default it's on. And there's a lot of people that are not happy about this because they feel, it's an invasion of privacy. Not only that, but if somebody got a hold of your phone, they can track where you live. They can track everywhere you go, down to the address with a map and the times that you go there. So we're creatures of habit, right? So we always like to do the same thing. So, people can see what we're doing if they get a hold of this information. But not only that, your service providers, they can see it, and they know the people that you call. So literally, there's people out there that have access to this information that can predict where you're going to be. So let me show you what this looks like and how to change this. You go into settings, then you go into privacy. You'll see the hand. And then you go into location services and scroll down. You'll see system services. And then scroll down and you'll see frequent locations. And in there, you'll see a list of every place that you've visited every single day since you've upgraded to iOS 7. iOS 6, not a big deal, it's not on there. So here's an example. I was shooting a video the other day at Port Moody. There's a map with an address on where I was, and if you click that, from 11:03 a.m. to 12:14 p.m., there's the time I was there. Crazy, right? So if you want to change that, you just scroll up, flick off frequent locations, and it won't track it. But I even went down to San Diego, and every time I got into my phone was off, but every time I got into a hotspot like Wi-Fi, it tracked where I was, like Mission Boulevard, flew out of San Diego International Airport, Seattle Tacoma International Airport. This phone will track everywhere you are with an address, with a map, and the times that you were there. So if you don't want people knowing about that, I don't personally care about mine, but I found it really interesting. There's a lot of people that are upset about this because they feel it's an invasion of privacy, and they don't want people having access and knowing to where they live and addresses and places they visit. I mean, if you visit friends and family members, if someone gets a hold of your phone, they have all this information on you. So not only that, but the data's going somewhere. We don't know where, and the people have information on that. So if you want to change those settings, change them now, and let me know. Is this something that you're kosher with? You okay?
As Ryan talked about, here is a diagram that shows how frequent location works. The blue dots show the address of where we are and the time that we visited this place. By having this information, anyone that picked up their phone or agencies can see how frequent we are at this spot and know who and can investigate who is there and why we're there, and can further predict when we'll be there again. This shows how pervasive technology is and how we must protect ourselves from leaking our privacy out without even our awareness. Here is a website that shows users' reaction when they learned about the frequent location setting on the iPhone.
Why stop at hands-free calling? us, at our side even when we're asleep. But our smartphones may have outsmarted us by quietly tracking our every move. So it tracks all the places you visit regularly and how long you spend at each of those locations.
Wow. How do you get into that?
Hidden deep within the menus of Apple's new iOS operating system is a feature called Frequent Locations that is turned on by default. The service automatically records where you've been using the phone's GPS.
But it goes beyond simple location tracking. In my case, the iPhone was able to figure out where I live, where I work, and it recorded the exact times I spent in each place.
Talk about creepy.
Privacy law expert Avner Levin was astonished at the amount of information being collected from unsuspecting users.
One of the greatest problems here is that it's forced onto you by default, and then it's only later that you discover that all this information is collected about you, and really it's out of your hands, right? What are you going to do now?
What do you think of that?
Seems pretty invasive.
Every iPhone user we approached was unaware their phone was collecting this type of data, equally unaware of how to make it stop.
Go into your settings, go down into privacy, location services. All the way at the bottom after all your apps is system services, frequent locations, and then you can turn them off from there.
Frequent locations.
Global News contacted Apple with a list of specific questions about how frequent location tracking works, how the information collected is used, how privacy is guaranteed. A spokesperson responded by directing us to Apple's website, where the company explains this data is kept solely on your device and won't be sent to Apple without your consent.
But I certainly understand why people have some reservations.
Mobile marketing consultant Jason Offert explains location tracking is fast becoming the new norm, meant to target services, even advertisements. Google offers a similar service called Google Now for Android and iPhone.
Watch where traffic's going to be, remind us of appointments. And that's really what these technologies are designed for, to help us get information before we know we need it.
What few iPhone users seem to realize is the information being collected from them and how it could be used by anyone with access to their phone.
I wouldn't want anybody to have that information about me before I sort of sat down and really thought, do I want to share that with them?
Jackson Frosco, Global News.
Yep.
Here is an example of Bell, one of the three big companies in Canada. How Bell's starting to track customers on their behaviors on the web and what they do with mobile devices. Bell will be tracking, for example, websites are visited, search terms used, TV shows are watched, calling patterns, and mobile uses. All of these collected are to improve network performance and marketing reports. While Bell said that by having these data, they can personalize advertisement for customers, and customers can opt out to having these data tracked. There are findings that show data will still be tracked regardless of what customers say. Just like the Apple example, even if it says that information won't be tracked unless we give consent, it is really hard to know if they are actually seeing this information or it is still safe in our pocket. Other than having corporations on our tail, friends and other strangers are also watching over us. Social media sites like Instagram show many users' life journey and with followers watching their everyday life. Followers see the individual's friend, common places he or she goes to, and what kind of things she likes to eat and what she wants to buy. With people increasingly comfortable with sharing personal information online, it is much easier for others to know about where we are, what we're doing, and become familiarized with our lives. Even though we're becoming increasingly dependent on technology and it is very pervasive in our life, we should still protect ourselves from these digital technology. For example, we can try turning off apps that track our location services, changing password for different platforms. Try to keep information away from iCloud so data would not travel between devices and make it easier to hack. We must decide what information we should reveal and try to reveal less personal information online, like photos, family member, friends, or friends' names, addresses, and where we go to school and go to work. Only by doing these ourselves and not deliberately showing ourselves online, then we can keep our lives more private. In conclusion, our world is now saturated with digital media, and it affects our sense of private and public life. Just as global news was showing, we now use these technology because technologies are helping us to predict what we need to do and helping us to solve problems. But at the same time, we must avoid revealing personal information as much as possible. And instead of thinking the message we send is only to the receiver, we must consider all the agencies in the middle that may see the message and consider apps that ask for our consent and really consider what they may gain by clicking the box I agree. Be aware of data mining with companies monetizing our information, and try to understand product service and terms as much as possible so we can be a smarter user and consumer and keep our life more private as much as we can. Thank you.